Alright, my fellow agents, welcome back to the Gaming Brigade, and one question I get here at the channel is what is my favorite skill build to use in the game, and I happen to have 3 that I bounce between depending on what I'm doing. Therefore, as we roll into the new year, I want to take a moment, highlight these builds for you really quick, and the good news is that because I'm showing you 3 different versions, chances are you should be able to put one of these together pretty quick. Now, as always, we're going to jump right into the details, and if you happen to enjoy this, do me a favor and hit that like button. It truly helps the channel out. And if you want to stay up to speed on all things Division, feel free to hit that subscribe or join button as well. Now, starting with the specialization for all 3 builds, I'm using Technician. And we're doing that for the following reasons. You get that extra skill tier. You also get an extra 12% damage bonus to drone skill proxies and robotics. This specialization is also going to give you access to the talent overclocked CPU, which is going to give you an extra 10% skill damage. And please remember to make sure you have the proper weapons activated in your weapon skill tree. That way you're getting a 15% weapon damage bonus regardless of which one you're using. I always mention that because people forget to do that. Then you're leaving weapon damage on the table. Now when it comes to the primary weapon for all 3 versions of the build you're about to see, I'm using the Harmony Rifle. This is a PvP exclusive. You can also get it from named caches, and the reason this is so effective is because it has the talent perfectly in sync. Hitting an enemy is going to grant 20% skill damage for 5 seconds. Using a non-shield skill or damaging an enemy with a skill grants 20% weapon damage for 5 seconds as well. And not only that, damage increases are doubled while both buffs are active at the same time, which should be running pretty much non-stop with this weapon. As far as the secondary is concerned, you can see I'm using the capacitor. And for the record, you could use this as your primary and the Harmony could be your secondary. Totally up to you, my friends. Now, this is one of the best exotics in the game. It is great for skill builds, hybrid builds, all that good stuff. Now, you can see it has the talent capacitance. Shooting enemies builds stacks to a cap of 40. Each stack is going to grant 1.5% skill damage, and you can also see for every skill tier you have equipped, you're also going to get an extra 7.5% weapon damage as well, which means because we're sitting at skill tier 6, we get an extra 45% weapon damage on our weapons right off the rip. Now that does bring me to one very important detail when it comes to your sidearm. If you happen to use the TDI card, you can see it has a skill tier on it. But to be very clear, that skill tier is only going to be active when the weapon is in your hand, so please make sure you take that into consideration when you're putting your build together. Now moving on to the gear itself, you can see we're running 3 Empress International, 1 Murakami, the Waveform holster, and 1 piece of Wyvern, which is what we're starting with. Now having this equipped is going to give us an extra 8% skill damage, and because we have the Technician specialization, that also means I can re-roll that core attribute to armor for a little more survivability. Moving on to the body armor, it's the first of 3 pieces of Empress. We're running 3 for all of the brand set bonuses, which as you can see are 10% skill health, 10% skill damage, and 8% skill efficiency. I'm also using the talent Kinetic Momentum. When in combat, each skill generates a stack while active or not on cooldown. Stacks increase your total skill damage by 1.5% and your total skill repair by 2%, up to 15 stacks per skill. Another great option is Glass Cannon. If you want to roll with that, I will show you a version of a build with that in a moment. Moving on to the holster, you can see it's the Waveform with its talent Alternating Current. Generate a stack of 3% skill damage on one of your skills every second, capping at 10 stacks. After 10 seconds at the cap, the stacks transfer to your other skill. The process then repeats non-stop. And for those of you out there who are trying to get this holster, it is in the general loot pool. You can farm Countdown, you could farm the Summit, you could also play Retaliation and target farm that as well. I'll be talking about that more at the end of the video. Continuing on to the holster, you can see it's the 1 piece of Murakami. That's going to give us an extra 15% skill duration, but the main reason I'm using these is because they are the named knee pads Emperor's Guard, and that's going to give us that middle attribute 1% armor regen, which I definitely like because this build is, a little bit squishy. Now these knee pads, like the Harmony Rifle, can also be found in PvP or named caches as well. Last but not least, we have the gloves and the backpack. They are the final 2 pieces of the Empress International brand set. And for the backpack, you can see I'm using the Talent Tech Support. Skill kills increase your total skill damage by 25% for 25 seconds, which is an absolute lifetime in this game. So my friends, let your skills do the work, so that talent should be running pretty much non-stop as well. Now moving on to the second skill build of this video, you can see we are rolling with 3 Empress International, 1 Wyvern, and what I've done is I've swapped out the body armor and the backpack for 2 pieces of Hannah U, because with those brand set bonuses, we're going to get that extra 10% skill haste, 10% skill damage. And as you can see for this build, I'm using the Talent Glass Cannon. All damage you deal is amplified by 20%, however all damage you take is amplified by 50%, so please make sure you keep your head on a swivel. You do not want to get flanked when you're rolling with that talent. When it comes to the backpack, I'm using the named Hannah U bag, the Force Multiplier, with its Talent Perfect Combined Arms. Shooting an enemy increases total skill damage by 30% for 3 seconds. Which finally, my friends, takes us to the last build I'll be highlighting today, and as you can see, I kept the 2 pieces of Hand of You, but all the other gear was switched to the Refactor gear set. And we are running 4, so we get all of the gear set bonuses: 2 pieces 15% status effects, 3 pieces 25% skill damage, 4 pieces return to sender, receive repairs of 10% of the damage dealt by your skills, and your allies receive repairs of 20% of the damage dealt by your skills as well. Now, one thing you hear me mention in every build video I post here at the channel is I say that, always remember this is just a template. The most important thing is to take your time, make a build your own. And as someone who plays this game solo 95% of the time, this is how I use this gear set. However, if you happen to roll in a group, you may want to use the gear set body armor or backpack. So just do some research, make this build your own. Please, for the love of everything, do not use this build in Countdown, because if you do, when you get to the end, you're going to face the hunters, they're going to hack your skills, you're going to murder everyone around you, then no one wants to play with you. So don't make that mistake. And I know that may sound harsh, but it's a PSA I gotta put out there, my friends. As far as the skills are concerned, I am using the same ones for all 3 builds. They are the Assault Drone and the Assault Turret. I'd also like to mention in the gameplay footage you're about to see, I do not have any global modifiers active whatsoever. And the reason for that is I want to ensure that whenever you see this video, you know exactly what this build can do without any special events going on. Hope this helped you out, my friends, and as always, questions, comments, or feedback, please let me know and I'll do my best to get back to you as quick as I can. On that note, I'm going to leave you with some gameplay footage and a few final thoughts. As always, I want to take a moment and thank you all for your incredible continued support. Please let me know of any other questions you have I did not address. Thank you once again for the privilege of your time. And as I mention at the end of every one of these, take care of yourselves, be kind to each other, and we'll talk to you soon. Thanks again, everyone. Hello once again, my fellow agents. I hope all of you out there had a great week. The video you're looking at right now is actually a reposting of one that I put out probably about a week ago, something like that. And in that video, and just like this one, I was talking about, farming legendary content in the summit and that I use these builds for that difficulty. Now, the problem was, while I referenced using these builds on Legendary in the Summit, I didn't actually show you gameplay footage of my using it on Legendary, which subsequently is exactly why I pulled that video. I'm reposting this one today because it's a bullshit move. I can't say one thing can do something and not actually show you it taking place. So that's all I got for this video, my friends. Now, as far as heroic, difficulty is concerned, you're going to rip through content. And once again, to be very clear, I've used all 3 of these builds in the Summit, on Legendary, solo, or in a group. And I know many of you out there wonder, what do you do if you're in the Summit farming and you run into a Jammer Pulse? What happens to your skills? Well, the good news is that we are only farming any 10th floor in the Summit, which means you're not going to run into any Jammer Pulse on the 10th floor. Doesn't matter. Now, for those of you out there who have no idea how this farming method works, I'm going to walk you through it really quick, because guess what? I got your attention. I'm not going to make you go to another video. We're going to walk you through the details right now. So, you can use this farming method on any 10th floor in the Summit. It does not matter. It could be 10, 20, 30, 40, so on and so forth. And your goal is to take out the first wave of NPC. And once the named boss appears, they are going to become your hyper focus. You want to take them out. And the most important detail is the following. You do not want to clear the floor entirely. So take out the named boss, kill your skills, pick up the loot, go back to the lobby, and then you can rinse and repeat this boss farming method as many times in a row as you like. Now, with all that being said, at this point, I want to answer a few questions that I typically receive anytime I talk about this farming method. And the first one is, can you get to any 10th floor on any difficulty? And the answer is yes. So let's say right now you're watching this video, your character is at floor 13. You can drop it down to normal, get yourself to floor 20, then go back to the lobby, bump it up to legendary, then you're totally good to go. Now, the other question I receive is, why am I not clearing the floor? And I'm doing that because every time I come to the 10th floor, I'm going to face a named boss. And if you clear the floor entirely, you're going to get pushed to floor 11. Then you got to get your ass to another 10th floor. But this way, you're always on that 10th floor. Does that make sense? And even if you log out, log back in, you are still going to be on that 10th floor. So this is one of the best farms in the game. We've had it since the Summit was introduced. There's nothing wrong with it. You can't get in trouble. I'm never going to post anything here that's going to get you in trouble in any way, shape, or form. Do not worry about that, my friends. Now, as you can see on screen, I'm taking out the named boss really quick. Once that happens, I'm picking up the loot, opening up my menu, going back to the lobby, and hopefully I will finally get some God-rolled mods that I'm missing. That's all I got for this video, my friends. Thank you once again for everything, and I will see you in the next one.